Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin. Darren and Josh make a movie.
James Michael Bobby.
Hello.
What's up, man?
This is Josh.
Thank you for letting us come in to Black Market. So this is Black Market Liquor Bar. It's another local haunt, Studio City haunt. I have kind of a long history with Black Market Liquor Bar. I have done immersive events here. Josh and I have come here numerous times to break scripts.
And we've gotten drunk here a lot.
Yeah. So how long have you guys been here now?
14 years.
Wow. 14 years.
Since 2011.
Now, the thing is, I'm also going to give you a shameless plug because this is an entertainment podcast and we're talking about, creating content. You also have a sound, how would you call it? Not soundstage. What is
Creative studio. Yeah. So Chandler Creative Studios, which you've used before for.
So have you?
Cello.
Use it for cello. I've shot a lot of photography there. It's an amazing space. It's in North Hollywood on Chandler. It's called Chandler Creative Studios.
And I'm sure we're going to be there doing podcasts.
You have
we'll
to.
be there.
So James, I'm going to have to say that we're going to sit at your bar, and I need libations immediately. So let's make that happen. All right, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cool. So one of the things that I think I would like to do is just kind of, we've done, what is this, episode 5 now? Yeah. You and I started this journey to figure out what the movie was we're going to make and what the best, what audiences want to see. What do we think we can do well? I was not there when you did your pitches, and I knew nothing about them until I watched the episode 2 days later, after everyone else had already seen it.
Good.
Yeah.
I feel like it was a great opportunity for me just to get the words out, for the listeners to kind of see how an original idea just kind of sparks and you just kind of pitch it around. I feel like I'm pretty sure there are a couple of them that are dead now, but there's maybe one or two that might work.
And you and I have not spoken about this, so I'm curious. To me, listening to it for one time only, the one that I gravitated, and this is the thing I said, these isn't even based on what idea is best. It's what idea do I think I can do best. And that's a completely different thing.
Yes.
And for me, the one that I immediately saw in my head as you were talking about it was The Privilege. I think that to me was the most exciting one because it is, I want to make something fun.
Yep.
And I want to make something that is something that's going to be crowd pleasing, something I would see at Sundance Midnight Madness, TIFF Midnight Madness.
Yep.
To me, I could visualize Privileged very easy. And I like the one that was set in the ditch, the trench, but I can also see how that could also maybe not be as exciting. The only reservation that I saw about The Privilege was, and I think Bobby might have mentioned it on the podcast, is you're inevitably going to get compared to The Purge.
Yep.
Now, the good news is The Purge did very well. It spawned, 4 sequels, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that would be my only reservation about that. But I think knowing that going in, there's something that we absolutely could address it, tailor it, knowing that the audience or the producers might compare it to The Purge, go in knowing that.
Yeah.
I mean, what is your thought on of the 4? What is your favorite? And
of the 4, definitely The Privilege was the one that I was feeling strongest about. And funny enough, it's also the one that the audience, our crowd sourcing ideas were really into. I cut a couple of comments from our.
Before you read those comments, let me. This is something I always do to make sure I understand. I'm going to pitch it back to you.
I understand. Yes.
Basically, The Privilege, and I loved your opening scene that you kind of described with the chainsaw. But in essence, at any given time, there is 1,000 certificates that have been issued that gives you the carte blanche to commit murder. And those can be sold, they can be traded, but no one knows who has them. So in that case that you commit a murder, you get to put out your certificate and say, wait, no, I have the privilege, and they can't arrest you for it.
Yes.
That's correct, right?
Yes, 100%.
I think that's a very cool thing because you could have some really shocking deaths by people that shouldn't be committing them. Old people, young people.
Yeah. And what was also fascinating to me is the idea of really making it a character piece in a lot of ways. And you're able to like what would happen if, and then there's a zillion different questions. Like one that I mentioned in the meeting was, what happens if your 14-year-old daughter who's been abused in the house gets the privilege? Like what happens then?
Fuck yeah. Your comments. Darren and Josh make a movie.
You have access to the Gmail and I don't. So you've actually read what's okay. I'm excited about this.
All right. Here are just a couple of responses from our crew. Gamer Bros said, "Holy shit, the privilege!" All in caps. Holy shit, the privilege. That sounds exactly what I wanted the Purge to be. Somebody named Miss Intendi Q64 said, "The privilege is such a fantastic idea. I really think it works the sweet spot of what I like about both of your work. There is a potential for some great kill sequences. This is super fun. Love you all and can't wait to see more." Karak 9434 said he definitely thinks his first choice is the privilege. Grey Wolf 7651 said, "No judgment, but are those friendship bracelets on Darren's wrist?"
Don't judge me. Don't judge and they are correct. But can I show you one of them? Is Saw the Musical. I went and saw the Musical in Los Angeles, which I believe is still. Have you seen it yet?
Have not had a chance to see it. I'm really excited.
I was here to bring Mark and Oren to it just to see their expression as they watch it. No, they're not friendship bracelets. 2 of them are just my douchey bracelets, and then 2 of them are from my mystic shop down the road of creativity.
Oh, sweet. I like that. That's great.
You know, one of the things that I want to say right now is the whole purpose of this podcast is to go from beginning, middle to end of the idea of a movie all the way through the execution with the fandom. And I know that you kind of put a call to action out about asking questions. And we want this to be also hopefully educational when we're not drunk. And I'm on my way to it right now. I'm not going to lie to you. But while I still have a little sobriety left in me and soberness, I have not looked at these questions yet, so I'm excited.
All right, good. All right, so we're going to start with some questions, and then I want to read some mail of people that have written in and said some nice things and some angry things. So we'll include those.
Talking with the producers.
So we are sitting here with Joshua Dietz and David Tisch, both people that I've worked with over the course of the last 5 to 8 years on different numerous projects. And I thought that they would be really interesting to talk to because you know, a lot of these podcasts, we're talking to actors and producers. And what's interesting about both of them is they come from the development side. David Tisch has been at EMA for numerous years. We worked on developing a few things. We did Death of Me. We did The Cello, which we shot in Saudi Arabia. And we just finished the Lauren Lavera movie, Twisted, which is now called Twisted. It actually, Paramount is watching it on Tuesday. All right.
Good. Hopefully they remember the name that you.
I know. And Joshua Dietz has been getting coffee for me for about. No, actually, Joshua Dietz was, if I remember correctly, and Josh, correct me on this. The first time we met, you were at Phoenix Pictures. I forgot what I was in there working on. What was the project?
Subway. It was the Subway horror project.
Yeah. Okay. So I was attached to the Subway horror movie, and Joshua Dietz was sitting in the room taking. I'll let you tell the story. Actually,
I mean, yeah. So it started the day before. I was a fan of Repo the Genetic Opera. Still am. It's your best work. Other than the new Paramount movie that's coming out,
no.
Or Death of Me,
or
the new Paramount movie that's coming out. So I was a huge fan of Repo the Genetic Opera, and I was an unpaid intern at Phoenix Pictures at the time.
Wow.
And which means like you're just making no money and reading a bunch of scripts and you're pouring a bunch of coffees and learning how to make cappuccinos for Oscar winners. And it was a great time. No regrets. I have plenty of positive memories. But I walked over to Ben Anderson, the VP over there, who I, sort of worked for at the time. And I was just like nervous as hell. He was trying to go to the parking lot and leave. And I was like, hey, tomorrow you have a meeting with Darren, Lynn, Bousman. I'm a big fan of his rock opera. Can I just take notes tomorrow? And he was just like had sunglasses on, looked over him, and he was like, sure. And then just mysteriously walked out and left the parking garage. And like,
but did he also tell you not to talk in the meeting? That was my.
Well, I'm not going to talk bad about Ben over here. But yeah, I mean, as a note taker, it's not even Ben necessarily instructing us, but it is a known rule. You just sit in the corner and don't exist over there. And so the meeting's going, they're talking about this script, and I'm obviously got tons of thoughts and ideas floating around. And I think we're kind of at like a lull. Like people are taking bathroom breaks. Like this is like hour 6 of this development meeting. It's not going anywhere. And then Darren's sitting over there and he just goes, "You, what do you think?" And I was just like me? And then Ben gave me this look of like, don't say anything. And I just started talking, and that was, it would have been 6 months later I became the writer of that project. So
That's all.
I'm not going to say that Darren gave me my start because I would never let him have that.
But I will say, and I think this is why I wanted both of them here, specifically on Josh right now. I started before my numerous firings on all my PA jobs. I started as an agent's assistant, and I realized how much power the lower level people have as assistants, for example, because before it ever went to the agent that I worked for, it went to me. And if I did not recommend the script, it never went to the agent, which then it never got represented. And so in that case, I remember when I started off, I worked at Tapestry Films. We talked about, was it Jonathan Comac Martin or who was it?
Andrew Panay. Yeah.
So I remember that I was tasked with sitting there and reading scripts, and one of the scripts I read was Van Wilder. And I realized how much power that I had if I said, this script you should read. Didn't necessarily mean, it was the thumbs up or thumbs up. It didn't mean it was going to get made, but it meant that it got read.
Yeah.
And, realizing that somebody who just is at that time a reader, who's now Josh has gone on to actually become a creative executive and now a writer director himself, they hold so much power. And so, and also I think Josh, you were probably the youngest in the room, and I realized more the audience of who we were. Mike Medavoy was not the youngest in the room. And so
the most handsome though. He was definitely
exactly.
If Mike watches this, he's the most handsome.
So that's how I met Josh, and then Josh went on to continue. We worked together on numerous immersive experiences. What was the first one? Was it iConfidant? The first one you wrote on? iConfidant, and then the one that I was most proud of was One Day Die with Danny Garcia, which was during the pandemic. The amount of work that Josh had to work to write was this insane at-home immersive experience during Halloween that was all online with numerous cameras, live. It was a live stage show, but at your house that you could interact on a monitor with these people. And Josh wrote numerous storylines in that. And then he went on to work at, where did you end up? You ended up at Faster Horse?
Yeah, so it's Faster Horse Pictures. I ran story there. So I was like the DOD over there for 3 or 4 years before I got into the WGA and then started this more recent journey.
And before we get to David Tisch, Josh and I worked together again. Josh brought me on to the LaLaurie Mansion movie. And
I was reading that, and can I ask a question about that?
yeah.
So, I've been reading that you stayed in the mansion while you were rewriting the horror script. You stayed in the haunted mansion of the haunted mansion you were writing about.
Yeah.
Just as a writer, just having that kind of an idea to really just immerse yourself in that world. Was there things that you found in that stay that worked their way into the script that would not have been in the script had you not?
I mean, it wasn't an idea to go there. I was paid to be there. I wouldn't have just gone. No, so it's like I spent first working on the LaLaurie as an executive at Faster Horse Pictures. So there's several years of like working on it in that capacity and then eventually writing it. So the 40 nights or whatever that we spent in that house is spread out. It wasn't like one straight stint of 40 nights.
Got it.
And like 7 of those nights was with Darren.
I gotta say, and as I will talk about numerous times, I love the paranormal. I love all of that. I've never seen anything, and I've always wanted to. I gotta say that my nights at the LaLaurie Mansion was the most fucked up, crazy, where I thought I was being, again, fucked with, for lack of a better word. And I was there with the Hayes brothers. The Hayes brothers are known most probably for the Conjuring movies. But we were all there, and Nicolas Cage owned the house before the preview. Am I correct on that? There was some shit that took place that even now I'm just like, and we'll get into this as a side story because I want to talk to David Tisch, but I'll tell you there were some things that happened there that are baffling today. But that's another story. We'll get into a full movies that never got made segment, and we'll talk about that.
I love it.
Tisch, go ahead.
But I just want to quickly answer his question too. It's like when it came to like diving in and the privilege and luxury of being able to stay in that house is like we all had crazy ass shit happen. There's so many stories. So like it ended up like most of the scares in the script are like, I mean, Darren can read the script and go, I remember when that happened to me. Or like, that Harry could read it and like have this crazy thing happen to them. So we literally just went and lived it and like that is the casually most haunted house I've ever been in. Like it is.
We literally found a door behind a wall because we heard noises coming from it. And so there's like, I live streamed it. I think everyone again thinks it was a fake thing, and it was not. There was a vent. We took the vent off and we found a bricked up thing with a door.
And chose the skinniest guy in our group and told him to go in. Yeah. Was that you? No. I wish. No.
That way, it was funny. Our connection is we were producing it with 50 Cent.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny.
David Arish, numerous years worked together. David Dietz, I've never wanted to fist fight more than anyone in my entire life, and David will attest to this.
Screw you taking it if you could take it.
No, he could, because David has got this. Like, David goes to the gym more than any human being right now. But I got so angry because David is so litigious with his notes.
Right.
You know, I've gotten notes from Lionsgate and Twisted Picture, but you've never seen notes until you get David Tisch's notes. Okay, now go ahead on David Tisch.
So we don't know each other, we're just meeting now, but I did, doing my research on you, I saw that you have been involved in really big, like budgeted, star-driven material like Liam Neeson in The Ice Road. But you've also done a lot of small indie films. And I'm really curious from your perspective, putting these projects together, how do you kind of, what's your approach in thinking about the fiscal responsibility that you have to the project?
Right.
And how do you figure out, like, okay, this movie is worth $50 million budget. This movie, if you can make it for $500,000, we'll greenlight it.
Yeah, that's a good question. And really, I mean, I'd like to see the $500,000 version of Ice Road. I mean, just use little matchbox bars and stuff, but it's somewhat genre dependent too. And with an action movie and something like that, and the thing that we fell in love with that project was originally called Red Ice, and it's basically Ice Road Truckers meets a thing, and there were these creatures in it. So it was a genre movie, and we had tried to get it put together with a lot of actors, and not a lot of actors want to do a creature movie, even though the concept was strong and the rules were all really cool. So when we brought it to Jonathan Hensley, who's the writer-director, he said, look, I know how to write action movies, and I don't know how to do a creature movie. I don't know how to direct something like that. But was really into the movie Wages of Fear, which is this old movie from the 50s or 60s. Is like, I could do that version. And we all fell in love with like what the rules were. And in an action movie, if you've got scenes that are unique to that specific film, as an action film, you don't have a bunch of guys just shooting guns,
right?
Then you're doing the right thing.
So one thing I think it's interesting about David that I've noticed is very important in making a film is to find a team of people that support your vision. And I think that we had Lee Nelson on a few weeks back, and David and Lee kind of balance each other out very well, because I'm always about taking risks and trying to do things that we have not seen before in the genre. So we're this movie Twisted with Lauren. There are some things that we do in the movie that are very off-center, that are very not down the middle of the road. Mm-hmm. And, David's big thing throughout the entire movie is that's what people want to see now, because if you're seeing the same thing we've already seen 100 times, what makes you different?
Right.
And I think that was a really important thing to have, because when making a movie on a budget like this, you don't want to be middle of the road. You don't want to be this very, and I think that David is really good at knowing, I think this is something else to talk about. David, you seem to know the genre very well. You watch the films, you're versed on what's hot now. So what, as someone that reads a lot of scripts, Josh and I today are really trying to hone in what the movie is we want to make.
Mm-hmm.
If something comes across your desk, what are you looking for?
The one thing that I look for, well, it's twofold. One, I want to be grabbed right away by the read. I find that a lot of horror these days that I read are kind of slow burn, where, and this is kind of old school, where you could take 30 pages until you get into whatever the premise is that your audience knows, coming into your movie. And I think for these days, even as everything eventually, goes to Netflix or one of the streamers, and you've got people watching and giving something 5 minutes and then they change it to something else, it's so important to grab you right away. And I know that if I'm not grabbed by something in the first 10 pages or so, then likely whoever is going to be reading this is not going to be, intrigued, whether that's Darren or, our director, or if that's an actor that's reading it, or if that's an audience eventually, if it gets made. So That's one thing. And then the second thing is anything that feels derivative is not great. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel like Charlie Kaufman. You don't have to go into Malkovich's head, but you've got to do something that feels a little bit of a pivot or something different. And one guy that was doing that a lot is someone like Chris Landon, who took a lot of the 80s and 90s comedies and that we grew up on, like Freaky Friday or Groundhog Day.
Happy Death Day guy.
Yeah, and then so he takes like Groundhog Day. He does Happy Death Day. He does Freaky Friday. He turns that into Freaky, or Back to the Future, which I think he wrote on this one that was a time travel thing that he did for Netflix. So it's just like, it's unique enough where you're like, wow, seeing something through a different prism makes it new and fresh and interesting. And that's something that's just a slight pivot, but it makes enough sense where you could go out there and you could talk to financiers and directors and say, this is why this thing is different. This is why we want you to spend your money or your time or anything else.
Yeah.
On this particular thing. You're not just doing something we've seen a million times before. This is a unique way into it.
I love that. I just have to say to the people who are emerging filmmakers and all that, David is, and I hate to say this as in any kind of derogatory way, but no, I'm going to call him he's a gatekeeper. He's a gatekeeper of his own company. I mean, like you're making those decisions. So I think that a lot of times when writers are only thinking about how can I just change it enough to make it slightly different, but what you're saying really is you really need to take a big swing at that so that you're creating something that feels unique and original in a way that someone like David reading a script hasn't seen before. So
I'll also mention something about working with David just recently now. I mean, really 3 films. David is very much about not only what a studio wants to see, what a foreign sales company wants to see, but what an audience is expecting. So in the first cut of Twisted, it took 38 minutes, 39 minutes for the first really big piece of violence to occur. And David was like, you didn't say this, but you basically, you're not Ari Aster, this is not A24. We cannot ask an audience to wait 40 minutes into the movie before this inciting incident happened.
Yeah.
And, that was one of the times that I got furious and I said, don't ever call me again. And it slowly got whittled down to where it happens, I think at like minute 23 now.
I thought you say minute 2.
No, but
We weren't that good. No, we tie like, oh, well, you want a 40-minute movie.
what is cool now is I remember the first time that my wife watched it, she snoozed off. Right. And then the second time she saw it, where it happens right away, she was like, this movie flies. And so I think that that was really helpful to get out of my own ass. I mean, it's because I'm buried in there thinking that this works, and then you're seeing it. So he's looking at it from different perspectives, not just the filmmaker, but what does a foreign sales company want to see? What does an audience want to see?
So, all right. So, can we move on? Because he's got Josh has got a really interesting perspective, and I've heard in interviews you refer to yourself as a recovering exec or a recovering a script development person.
Sure.
And then you've in the last years you have completely shifted around and become a creative, a writer, director, all of those things. I'm really curious to know from you what you took from that old life in a positive way, and what are the things you had to kind of unlearn moving from the baseball hat side.
He did call you a suit. He calls you a suit. No, sorry, David.
It's been probably like 5 years since I've worn a suit. But
Okay, good. Be good. I think I call myself like a recovering development executive because I think like during my time, it is such, it's a really hard job. Like David knows this. You're probably reading so many scripts all the time and processing what you think. It's like for the mandate of the company, what are we looking to do? Well, like what's the filter we're running everything through? So during that process, like I feel like you do get lost in it. And it's like really hard for like, I moved out here to be like a writer director. I moved out here to like, I am unfortunately that guy that is going to root for my inciting incident on page 40. And then David will yell at me. Like, it's like, so like, it's like that inner artist, like why you came out here to be a filmmaker in the first place. Like you lose a little bit of that because the job's so busy and you learn so much, which is great. But that's why I would call myself like a recovering development executive. Cause like cut to, last year I got into the WGA and then that was like this big shift moment of being like, okay, like I'm going to leave the desk behind and I'm going to like go back to doing the weird shit that I came out here to do. And that's where, I destroyed my bank account to make a short film, so it's like,
Which is great, by the way.
thank you.
He did a movie called Supper. that's just starting to go on the film festival circuit, and it's amazing.
Well,
really good.
He sent me supper like 4 months before I watched it, and I kept forgetting to watch it. I finally watched it, and literally I texted them and I was like, I want to produce this as a feature. I was like, I felt like an asshole at that point because I never want to watch. It took me 4 months because I don't want to be that guy that has to think of something nice to say. So I was like, I'm just going to be too busy to watch it.
Yeah.
And then I watched it and I was like, this makes me so uncomfortable. And it was done. And this is what I want to also say to filmmakers. It's one location, one set basically at a dining room table. And there's not a lot of character movement. It's just so intense by what they are saying and the actors in it. Which showed me again, like when you have a good filmmaker, you can make anything interesting if you know how to control your audience. And I was glued, so I thought it was great.
Oh, thanks, Expendables.
I'll take the $50.
Yeah, no problem. No problems. Don't tell David Tish how long it is. But like, you know, to tie into that as well, I feel like the thing that I had to kind of unlearn and lose was, you know, for so long you were tracking trims. You're like trying to hit this moving target in Hollywood, and maybe that's why I, you know, ended up being, you know, leaving the exec world. I'm just not built for it. But, you know, I was trying to serve a mandate. You have these filters, like at once a year you come together as a company and you're like, this is what we're looking to make. And this is what did well last year. So we need our version of that. And spending so much time serving this thing that really isn't necessarily your creative calling, but it's like the people that pay you, you're trying to make, you know, their wishes and visions come true. And unlearning that a little bit and getting back to the root of like, okay, like, I've rewritten so many scripts or taken writing jobs over the years that I was like, oh, that's not really me, but like FOMO, you don't say no to anything. You do it and you pursue the work and it'll pay off in some way. And I think stepping away from the company and that where I spent so much time curating something for other people, it was like, okay, now I got to get back to like who the hell is Josh? And like
I love that.
And it's in like when you're talking about like boring, you know, reading a bunch of scripts, like how many scripts have you read over the last 10 years? Like 20 years, like thousands. And, you know, I've in my like 10 years, I've read thousands of scripts and they all blend together. And the thing that stood out the most for me is when a writer has a very specific voice. Like there's like, you're like, they can literally write like, you know, you can take somebody with a strong voice, have them write what is a boring scene. You're like, oh, it's like a family hanging out for Christmas. And you're like, oh, that's boring. That's the whole picture. You're like, yes, but if that like writer has a really great voice, you're like, fuck, I just can't stop reading this. Like the dialogue's amazing. Like, yeah, even like you're glued to the page because like they're breaking rules they're not supposed to break rules.
Can I ask them both a question? And I think that this is to me the most important question for sitting down with you guys. Josh and I, in the next, I would say 2 months, are going to go out and pitch an idea that we've kind of come up with. And we're in the early stages of knowing what that is. For both of you that have sat in numerous pitch meetings, read numerous treatments or synopsises, what is the one thing that immediately is going to grab your attention and immediately want to know more or back that project? Because, you know, in the case of Twisted, it took us years to get that movie made. And so to actually champion something for as long as it's going to take and to get behind something, what is that thing for you that you need to hear or see in a pitch?
I mean, in a pitch, I'd want to see something that had a very clear concept to it that felt unique and interesting. And it's funny, like I look at movies that did well this year. If you're going to like chase trends and you want to be the writer that writes the next Sinners. But if I read Sinners and it wasn't, you know, the auspices that were attached to that one,
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have said, oh my God, we've got to go make this. I haven't read the script. The movie was good, but it had two things that were difficult. One, it took about 45 minutes or so to get to the vampire part. Then it gets into vampires, and vampires are really tough to do these days. And while it was a unique twist in doing a period vampire thing, I could say, well, you could equate it a little bit with Lovecraft Country, which also created creatures, put it back in the past, and then did that whole thing. So if I were reading that, it's tricky, and that's sort of execution dependent. It's not dissimilar to what you're saying, a writer that's got a unique voice that leaps off the page. But at the same time, when you have to go and pitch it, if the concept isn't really strong and interesting, nobody's going to say, well, let me read the script when it's ready, because it's not catchy enough. Even if the script is amazing, the concept has to really grab you and feel like it's something that's unique and different enough that could work. And it isn't necessarily chasing trends in that regard, because if you are chasing the trends of what happened last year or what happened the last couple months, by the time you write it and you get it going, it's going to be whatever trend is going on.
I also think, just to add to that too, it's like when you're trying to hit those trends and those moving targets, Like, there's so many people trying to do that exact same thing. You're not the only smart guy that's trying to. I mean, Darren and I don't know if you want to, we can mention the specific name, but we were working on a tarot horror project, and we were like, this thing is so badass. It's so fucking good. Tarot. We're going to sell it. And then we were like, there's like, here's a trailer for a tarot movie. A trailer? Like, we've got a script. How the hell do they have a trailer? And then you're like, and then you find out that that's not even the only one. There's like 3 other people that are upset because they're like, God damn it, there goes our tarot movie.
And literally that quickly it fell apart. It was that quick. Yeah, when we've been working for 6 months on it, and then
Josh was just like, so what are we going to do now, guys? Nothing.
it was silent. Well, I want to say something really quick. Jason Constantine, and I think Jason's name's going to come up a lot in our podcast. Jason Constantine was the architect, one of the main architects behind the Saw franchise, Repo the Genetic Opera, Midnight Meat Train. I mean, a bunch of films, the John Wick franchise. He recently passed away, and he had a huge impact, I think, on both of our careers.
Yeah.
He gave me one of the best pieces of advice on filmmaking that I've ever heard. And it, after we made Cello, and at that point I'd worked with Samuel Jackson and Chris Rock and Jeremy Irons, I called Jason up and I said, I want to elevate my career. If I want to continue to go up in my career and climb the ladder, what advice would you give me? And Jason said, when you come into a place like Lionsgate and you're sitting there with a room full of executives, if you can't sell your idea in 2 minutes without them looking like they just swallowed a fart, or I'm adding that, Jason didn't say that, but he said that you can't have them scratching their head and being like, wait, what? You have to be able to go in and sell the idea so quickly of what that why are they going to get behind it? And I knew at that point, like all these mistakes that I'd made, because I have ideas, it takes me 20 minutes to get to the point. And I'm like, just stay with me. It's going to get there. It's all going to come around. He said, you lose people in this room in about 2 minutes. If you can't, and then he walked through the pitch at that point for, oh my God, the big disaster movie. We had a movie with him at one point.
Oh, Roland Emmerich?
Roland Emmerich.
Yeah.
He was talking about the moon falling. What was that movie?
Moonfall?
Moonfall. he goes,
Clever.
At that point, he just heard that pitch, and he walks in and says, I'm going to pitch you a movie in 60 seconds. And Jason pitched it back to me, and he's like, you get that movie. You don't need to know the character. You understand that high concept idea. Yeah. So I think it's important, Josh, for you and I, that at least when we go into some of these rooms, we can do that. Yeah. That we can be right off the bat in 1 minute, they understand what the idea is. Then we can get into the characters and the voice and all of that. But knowing that idea.
Well, I know both of you guys also are very well versed in horror. So if you're taking out a horror, that's the other big thing is if you want to write a horror project, be sure to watch a lot of horror movies and read a lot of horror scripts because you'll know all the thousands and thousands of projects that we look at, and you're like, okay, I know this is too much like this or that, but you'll be able to thread that needle and figure out what's that area that you could explore that feels so different. And that just comes from consumption. That's why it's so important to...
Yeah, and I think the other thing I'll add to that is like, once a part of being an exec, and this is where I'm doing now, is I feel like I was a spy on the inside for so long. So I'm just going to steal all everybody's tricks and try to use them for myself. And hopefully I'm as cool as these people. But it's like, I think coming back to kind of what I was saying too, is like having a very clear voice and just feeling that you're the essential creative that has to be involved in it. And I think of like, we took pictures from people like Oz Perkins, where like Oz is like such a beautiful weirdo. And like by the end of those pitches, like when he like floats away off into the ether, you're like, holy shit. Like nobody could make that movie but him. It is like, whether you like the concept or not, you're just like, that guy is the only guy that can make it.
I love that. That's why we have to make a musical. I'm the guy. I'm the guy.
It's like, so yeah, I mean, I feel like for you guys, it's like finding that thing that's like that strength. What is the essential thing of you guys, and making it clear that you guys are the only fucking people that can do it. So good luck.
I've had the same manager, agent, and lawyer for 22 years now. Never left. And the company I'm with now, Verve, which Adam Levine, he's kind of cornered the market on this really interesting thing, and you always see him in the trades. And what he basically does is he sets up his client to do a short story. A lot of times they were released on No Sleep on Reddit. And once they get a fandom on that, he then sets that up as a book sale. And then from the book sale, he sets it up as a movie. And they have done huge numbers on that. And it's such an interesting way that's not the traditional. I don't think I've ever made success or found success in the traditional path. Everything has been off center. Yeah. And so I think that's something else that we should look at. And maybe that's what this podcast is. It's off center. It's like we're coming up with a movie like this.
You guys know who Curry Barker is? Mm-mm. So Curry Barker, he makes a lot of short form content. He's hilarious. Like, you should watch him just for that. But he released Milk and Cereal last year, which is a feature film that he shot on, like, I don't know what he shot on. He made it with nothing, releases it on YouTube. and it has its little viral moment, and now he's making his first like actual feature film with, not actual, that was rude. He's making his first feature film on somebody else's dollar with a proper budget, and he totally kind of it's similar to what you guys were doing with like building a YouTube platform and then bridging that over to being like, oh, there's a proven audience, like they're getting views, like, you know, it's like I have another friend that we have mutual friend, Sam Evenson, if you remember Sam, like, you know, Sam started putting his horror shorts on YouTube and then went to bed one night and some like famous like horror short review person watches his short film, and Sam wakes up, he has 70,000 subscribers on YouTube and like has continued going from there. Now he has multiple deals making features around town.
Well, there's that like the back rooms short that went viral.
That's now becoming a feature.
Yeah, a huge feature to play us in.
Yeah, so it's such a good idea.
I think that it's this is a really good conversation, a good thing to hear, especially if you're living in the Midwest and you feel like you're so far away from Hollywood you can't do anything. You can put stuff on YouTube, and if you approach it artistically and with your own unique voice, you can get seen in a way. I mean, I think Joshua here, Commander at Home was you know, you were doing YouTube stuff.
No, I mean, so I mean, yeah, we're still, the Commander at Home is still going. It's still a show. That show started like 3 years ago, talking with one of my friends who's a Hall of Fame Magic the Gathering player. If you didn't know there's Hall of Fame Magic the Gathering, there is.
There is.
And so we started talking about doing a Magic the Gathering YouTube channel, and we probably like 2.5 years ago shot our first like batch of episodes, and basically from day one, it has just continued to climb. Like we're nearing 300K subscribers now. So it's like,
Amazing.
you know, it's a proper business now. That thing, it will outlive me. It will keep going. So it's like there's like a proven platform, and it's like interesting, like what you guys are doing.
And we get pitch ready. Yeah, no, I think we'll re-bring them back in and maybe do some practice pitches. Well, yeah, that sounds great. That sounds great. They say.
Speaking of which, we should probably start talking about our idea.
We will.
Comments on the pitch.
This is from Western Downpour. If you could give any advice to someone starting out in filmmaking, what would it be?
It's a hard one because it's such a catch-all question. There's no I don't even begin to answer that. We can do an entire podcast, I think, on advice. If I could redo my life, if I could go back to square one and do it over again, I think it is put your time and energy behind something that makes you absolutely unique. Do a project that no one else but you could do. And I think that for me, when I realized that was Repo the Genetic Opera.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up with loving musicals. I grew up with having a fascination with music and theater. So you might want to lean back because you're in my shot, Josh. You're in my shot.
I'm in my shot. I mean, so by the way, Addison, who's adjusting that camera, just crawled on the ground around so she wouldn't be seen on
That's
camera.
called dedication. You know what I would say?
Don't stand up, Addison. We like to see you.
What I think to answer that question is that if anyone could make that movie, I'm the wrong guy to be doing it. And I think that for me, I've got to be able to bring something unique and special and something that is inherently just me, or someone else could be doing it.
Yeah.
And so what I would say as a filmmaker is, what is your voice? What is it that you have a unique perspective on that your next door neighbor doesn't, or that your next, the director next to you doesn't? And I think that for me, I wish I focused more on that in my early part of my career. Now, listen, I can't complain. I made 3 very successful Saw movies, and I'm very blessed on that. But moving forward, it is what is my perspective? What is my vision? What am I internally struggling with? And those are the type of movies that I want to make. So,
okay, next question.
But wait, no, I've got a second. There's a follow-up. So keep your mouth shut.
All right, I'm not saying anything.
You have to be your own biggest champion. No one will champion you more than you. And I think that so much of being in the film industry is being confident. And if you are not confident in yourself and your own vision, then no one's going to be confident with you or whatever you're trying to peddle.
I love
so confidence over anything.
Yeah.
That you need. Sorry for saying this, big dick energy. You got to go into the room.
I would agree with you, but what I would also say is don't come off as an egomaniac. Like there's definitely a balance in walking into a room and pitching an idea where you're daring them to say no because you know that this is the best idea of all time, and coming off as somebody who's just this cocky asshole.
I'm not sure I found that line yet. I don't know if I found that line.
All right, next question. Danny Barton, Steve Barton's wife. She wrote in, why hasn't Darren come to do our 50-cent tour of the real Haddonfield like Josh did? But then she said, okay, my real question is, who, by the way, I got a tour from Steve and Danny
Awesome.
In Haddonfield. It was just the coolest thing ever. I got to see the cemetery, the school, it's awesome. But her real question was, okay, my real question is, who is one of your favorite actors to work with, each of you? Who is your favorite actor you've worked with?
I've been very lucky, and I think that there's something on my Wikipedia that shows how I work with the same people over and over and over again. I try to get them cast over and over and over again because I think filmmaking should be fun. And I love when I have a built-in relationship. We just mentioned Dayton Cali, whose restaurant, we're in right now. I've done numerous films with Dayton. I've done numerous films with Paul Sorbino. I think Jay LaRose, who was in Saw 3, and he was in my first short film, in my second short film. He's been in multiple of my films. I love working with people that I have a relationship with, and it's fun. And honestly, I'm going to say this, and this is not bullshit, but now Lauren Lavera. I think we connected so quickly on set, and we had such a similar stylistic kind of thing that I really want to find something to do with her again, because it was just so fun. But it changes constantly. But I love people that I just like being with.
From an acting standpoint, I would say Tobin, being around him and seeing the way he works is incredible. I'm married to an actress, and we've worked together on 5 different projects, and there's nothing I like more. And one of the great things about working with my wife as an actress is that you're able to just cut to the chase. You're able to say, like, that sucked, just do it better. Like, you don't have to do the tap dance, the director's tap dance. And then one of my favorite actresses I've worked with is Leah Pipes, who was the main girl in Sorority Row. She has a great part in Skill House, and she's insanely talented. Just absolutely love her.
I have another one to that, is that I'm really excited about working with, again, there's an actor by the name of Frank Grillo. Frank Grillo was in a film of mine called Mother's Day, and we've been looking forever to try to find something else to do together. He's currently at one of my favorite TV shows now called Tulsa King. He was in the Purge films, numerous Purge films.
Mm-hmm.
I would say also Frank Grillo is someone that I'm excited about working with again.
That's awesome. All right, here's another question. This will be a short answer. This is from someone named This Is My Design HC, and he or she wrote, any chance of a Spiral sequel?
Not anymore. maybe a year ago. I don't know. I mean, listen, here's the reality is I'm very proud of Spiral. And I think that if I could redo Spiral, we would have put Tobin in a little bit because I think that Spiral was unfairly
aligned.
I think that fans came in expecting it to be a next part of the Saw universe, and it was.
Yeah.
It was a sidestep, and that was always the idea. It also came out during COVID. We were the first film back, the first wide release back after COVID.
Yeah.
And I remember that when I went to the theater for the first time to see it, there were 2 seats in between every ticket buy. So if, let's say, you and your wife went, you guys would be here, there'd be 2 seats off, and then the next people.
Yeah.
So much of seeing a horror film is the community experience.
Yes.
And I remember watching it. It was just silent because it was so empty in the theaters because of the COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
It did open number 1, and it did make its money back. Chris Rock and I still talk frequently. And I know that there was an intention to do 3 of them. We had an idea for Matt Minghell's character. So my hope would be maybe. But I think Jason Blum just bought the franchise.
For those that aren't in the know, Jason Blum bought the franchise, and he's partnered with James Wan, who started the entire thing. I'm excited to see what they bring to it. I really am. I'm disappointed that I'm not going to get another, bite at the apple, but I am really excited for the franchise, and I'm really looking forward to what comes next. This came from a user named Darren Bousman, who said, why is Darren Bousman so cool?
Yeah, Josh, speaking of, please. James Michael Bobby, will you please come here? James Michael Bobby.
So someone named Darren Bousman wrote in asking, why is Darren Bousman so cool? Well, what would your answer to that be?
I mean, it's got to be the style, right? The Wolverine style. Like, it's because I'm balding so rapidly that I just got to keep growing it out longer. So I'm going to do the Trump come up very silent air. I like it. I like it.
Rick Ask said, has there ever been a scene so gory, dark, that an actor/actress had a hard time doing it, or you had to change the scene for that?
Well, yes. And it's still something that bums me out tremendously. Mother's Day, which I'm really, really proud of. Scott Milan, who was on a couple of weeks ago, was the writer of that. Rebecca De Mornay, most known for My Hand That Rocks the Cradle. She's fantastic in this film. She's just utterly fantastic. I don't think she realized the level of gore and macabre, nefarious horribleness that was going to occur. And I remember I saw the movie with her for the first time in Spain, in Sitges, and she was appalled. And at that point, she refused to promote the movie. She was so good in the movie. She is so good in the film. But she goes, I had no idea it was going to be like this. And I remember that there is a scene in it. We're going to put it on camera now because it is my favorite thing I've done, is Warren Cole, who plays one of the brothers, ends up shooting another actor of mine, Tony Napa, who's been in numerous of my films, in the head, and his head explodes, and we had this prosthetic that was built like a puzzle. Right. So it blew up and went apart, and you could put it back together. It is awesome. I remember that she was in that scene, and we couldn't shoot with her in it. So we had to do all of her close-ups isolated where she wasn't around it.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
But it bums me out because she's so good in that film, and she just had a very strong reaction when she saw it.
Wow.
About the level of violence in it.
Jack Mackerel, 24, asked, is there a reason why you guys decided to do the traditional financing route instead of the direction Eli Roth and Robert Rodriguez have recently chosen, making mini film studios through Republican financing by selling shares to fan investors? I honestly, I don't know what that whole business model is, so I can't really comment on it. It sounds a little bit to me like a crowdfunding kind of vibe. I don't know.
I am very torn on the issue, and I don't know enough to speak with any sort of authority on this whatsoever, but I have a hard time on things like Kickstarter or whatever, because I think there's this perception of filmmakers, and specifically myself, that we made Saw movies, you made billions of dollars. Well, yeah, Saw made billions of dollars. I didn't make billions of dollars. I didn't own anything of Saw. I was before I was DGA. So it's a weird thing to go on and be like, hey, can you help finance my movie? Aren't you the guy that made 3 number 1 or 4 number 1 opening? Yeah, but I didn't make that money. Yeah. So to me, it's a weird thing. I did the same, I do things like I have a side thing called Attic Acquisitions, which I sell props that I've had over the course of years. And even that makes me feel kind of weird. So I think going to a fan and asking them to finance the movie, I know they want to, I know that they're excited about it. I don't know enough about it. And I think it just makes me uncomfortable. Maybe if I knew more about it, I would, but I've been very lucky in my career to find financing through very unconventional ways, from going to basically outside the Hollywood system. And I think that I'll continue to do that. Yeah. But I think I can do that without having to go to fans to ask how to finance the movie. Yeah. Does that mean I'll never will? I don't know. But right now, I think that I've been very lucky to find, and you've been very lucky on selling things too.
Yeah. I feel like right now, our main route should be trying to find financing through traditional means. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The mailroom.
This email came in from George Macon. I'm sorry, George. I've met you before, and I'm sorry I don't know how to pronounce your last name. Hey, Darren and Josh, George here. You discussed found footage, but I have a big love for screen life subgenre. The internet is an amazing and potentially terrifying place, and we all have the gateway in our own hands. Talking about your cell phone, one of the best examples is Rob Savage's Host. Have you seen Host?
I have, yeah.
Host is great, and it was co-written by a good friend of mine named Jed Shepard, who, I don't know if you saw this, but they did this the scientists hooked people up while they were watching movies to figure out what the scariest movies of all time were.
good to hear about
And Host was one of the scariest movies of all time. So Jed, congratulations. George goes on to say, I don't think there is necessarily a genre that I'm tired of seeing, but slow burn can sometimes be a thinly veiled word for padding a movie, which is an interesting take. I hear you, George. Finally, George said this about his own personal horror boundaries, that he hates watching animals tortured on screen. And he points to a scene in The Collector from our good buddies, Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton, where a cat walks on some acid. And George has a hard time with that. Have you had any issues with studios dealing with killing animals or killing
Children is something that, and I have a kind of a line now that I have kids that I won't do. But that's the one thing that I've seen studios. But again, also there's something about animals; they're innocent, and I think that's why I can never rewatch Cannibal Holocaust. It's one of the most horrific animal mutilations that I've ever seen,
and it's real.
And it's real, and that's I agree. Like animal thing is too much to me. But you know. That's probably something I couldn't do. I mean, I have 2 dogs, I have 2 lizards, I have a bunch of fish.
Yeah.
I can't get with the animal shit.
Well, it's funny because I have a new project that I'm working to try to set up. It's a book written by Stephen Graham Jones, who is this amazing novelist, horror novelist. He is the new Stephen King as far as I'm concerned. He's incredible. But I adapted this book he has called The Last Final Girl, and the opening scene has a character, the bad guy, basically taking a samurai sword to a horse's neck and like chopping it up, almost chopping the head off in one swoop. And my agents, my manager, my lawyer, my wife, like everybody was just like, you got to lose that scene. It's too horrific. You're going to lose the entire audience right off the bat. So I get it. Okay, this was one of my favorite emails that came in. So in the first episode, Darren put out a call for people to write about their favorite subgenres, which people had been doing. And and while he was saying that, you kind of flippantly said, "Oh, send in your make it a sonnet, make it a poem." So Greg Green wrote this in. He wrote in a quatrain. My perennial obsession is the genre of possession. To watch enwrapped fanaticism, the ecstasy of exorcism, for those who feel the genre is cold and just the trope, and turn the trope to something bold. Instead of demons or a ghost, let's let an angel be the host.
I love that.
So, and that's just a movie where they're being taken by an angel. Great, that's a great idea.
The people always ask, and I was asked this just recently on another podcast: is there that movie that got away? Is there that film that I wish I could have made that didn't happen? And one of my favorite movies that I developed was about the Book of Enoch, and the Book of Enoch is about the fallen angels. And I love the idea of doing a movie where you always see it's the devil. I love the idea about it being an angel. So
I love that.
It's great. By the way, look at my man writing poems for us.
I love it. It's awesome. It's all. Greg, we're gonna send you something because that was a great poem.
I see my boy Gabe here, and I don't know if you know Gabe. Gabe is probably, if there was a hierarchy of
horror fandom,
not even horror, Saw fandom, and who knows more than the creators of the Saw franchise, it would be Gabe. Gabe is put me to shame a few times by I'll answer something like, Darren, you're wrong on that. Actually, so what's Gabe have to say?
So Gabe says, what I love to see more of biblical horror. I recently heard
thank you, Gabe. It's just thank you. I agree. Sorry, go ahead.
All right, good. I recently heard of a supernatural thriller that was never adapted into a film. It was written by Scott Rosenberg, I believe, and it's called The 10, and it's about a cult leader that recreates the 10 plagues. It's a biblical-style supernatural thriller, and I think it would make a really cool film. On a side note, I'll be flying to LA in October, and would love to see you guys. We would love to see you too, Gabe. 100%. We're gonna come here and have a drink.
So my fascination, Josh, as you know, is religious horror.
Yeah.
So anything that deals with religious horror, I'm about it.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes.
I love it. A couple of people have written in to say, can they send in their pitches? And it gets really tricky. And while we are here to help you find your voice, to help you find an idea, to help you find all those things, what we prefer is you take those original ideas that you have and make them yourself.
The reason why, and I get this a lot, is unsolicited material. Let's say that Josh and I are working on a movie about black market liquor bar and oranges that come alive. And yours is about tomatoes that come alive. And just completely randomly, you then realize that we're making a movie on oranges that coming alive, and you say, wait a minute, you stole that idea. You took that idea from me. And now I can see a chain of you sending me the pitch. 2 weeks later, we get announced we're making a movie about oranges coming alive. That's bad. So it is a catch-22 about getting your stuff read.
I did want to just welcome a couple of people. We put out a call to folks if they wanted to help out with the podcast, and we have 2 new friends that are joining us. There's a great dude named Brandon Nieto who is helping us out with some of our YouTube content. I don't know if you've seen the YouTube channel, but it's kick-ass, and he's responsible for it, and I just want to say thank you for that. And then the other one is Chase Bellows, who is going to be running our Discord service whenever we get that up and running. But I just wanted to welcome them and say again to anyone that wants to help out, we're a small team. It's this guy right here, it's me, and it's Addison behind the camera. That's all we got. So come join us. All right, so let's talk about the ideas.
I don't have a story. I don't have a beginning, middle, or an end, but I have an idea.
Okay.
And I think part of what would be helpful for this process is, I think it was Lee Nelson who mentioned this to us on a couple of podcasts ago. He said, figure out what it is you have to exploit and write to that. So whether that's actors, locations. And I think on this, I started doing, after I heard your pitches, what is it that we have to exploit? And I went through my Rolodex of people that I knew and the actors that I knew. And I know a lot of people that are horror icons. And, I'll give a fun story that Mark Berg, who I think every episode we've mentioned Mark Berg, he needs to be like the godfather of this entire thing. We'll have Mark Berg on.
We will.
I was at a meeting with Mark Berg where I had a movie that I wanted to make called Last of the Independents, written by a screenwriter named Alex Litvak, based on a graphic novel. We were sitting with Sylvester Stallone in Sylvester Stallone's office, and we had Sylvester Stallone attached, and I was very excited. And as we're meeting with Sylvester Stallone, his phone rings, and he apologizes, picks up the call, and he's like, "Oh my God, that's great, that's great." And he hangs up and he goes, "Mark, Darren, I have good news, bad news. Bad news is I can't do your movie. Good news is Expendables just got greenlit." So I was with Sylvester Stallone when the Expendables got greenlit. Great. So I started thinking about what's so cool about the Expendables is it is the iconic action heroes that we grew up with.
Yep.
As well as the new action heroes of today.
Right.
And they're just being badasses. They're doing what an audience, it is a popcorn movie of them being badasses.
It's what you were saying you wanted, where the audience is cheering in the
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
So I started looking, what are the people that I love working with? And we were talking earlier about who do you love working with? I love Bill Moseley. I've made numerous films with Bill Moseley.
Bill is amazing.
And if you go back to the very beginnings of Bill Moseley, I mean, he's done a lot of work before this, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. He plays Chop Top, one of my favorites, just ridiculous, over-the-top villains. Then I started thinking about people that I've worked with through the years, Derek Mears, people that I've met, Kane Hodder. I was like, I want to get Tobin Bell, Shawnee Smith. I was like, I want to do an Expendables, but a horror version of Expendables. But what I've kind of become known for recently in the immersive theater space is getting very meta. And what meta is basically when it's a kind of a wink and a nod to the audience that you're allow the characters to play themselves, maybe. I look at one of my favorite horror films within the Nightmare on Elm Street universe, and it is New Nightmare.
That movie is so fucking cool.
What's so cool is it's meta because Robert Englund plays Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
What if we took all the people that we know in the horror world, and we did an Expendables-like movie where these characters play themselves? Then I was like thinking about one of my favorite comedies that I just showed my kids recently was Three Amigos.
Oh.
Now, how is Three Amigos going to attach to Expendables, which is going to attach to this idea?
Okay.
And if you go back to Three Amigos, you have these three Hollywood actors who are known for their spaghetti Western-esque things.
Right.
They get hired to go to a town, and they think they're going to this town to like shake hands,
Right.
kiss babies, and take photos. And they go to the town, and the town's like, no, we need your help. We need to be who you are on screen here. I have been to a few horror conventions recently.
Yeah.
And they're so fucking crazy to me that you're sitting in these big rooms and you have the who's who of horror icons all sitting there signing autographs, doing whatever, and it's everybody.
Right.
I was like, what if we started? What if the way in? What if the hook is all of these horror icons are at a horror convention? Tobin Bell is Tobin Bell. Bill Moseley is Bill Moseley. Kane Hodder is Kane Hodder. Adrian Barbeau is Adrian Barbeau. All of these characters are sitting there, but no one's showing up. And it's the most sad, pathetic, horrible convention you have ever been to. And you see them as themselves. And then you realize they've been brought there for a reason. And they have been brought there to basically help an ancient evil in this town.
So the reason it's sad is because there's another hook
There's
there.
another reason they've been brought to this town.
Yeah.
And so imagine if these badass horror people have to defend this town against another horrible whether it's monster or villain or whatever that is. And I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things that we can do with the tropes in horror movies.
Yeah.
Where Bill Moseley plays Bill Moseley, who also played Chop Top and Luigi Largo in Repo, and he's having to stab somebody. But I think that to me is so fucking, that to me could be so over the top, so ridiculous, so high-fiving in the theater.
Right.
So many nods to the genre, nods to the characters. And it goes to this idea I had a long time ago, which I always wanted to make, was I wanted to make a movie set in Comic-Con. And in this movie set in Comic-Con, I wanted there to be an alien invasion. And I wanted to basically, an alien ship crashes and it's right next to Comic-Con and these aliens get released on the Comic-Con floor. No one notices except these bunch of kids.
Right.
And the kids are having to defend Comic-Con from this alien thing, but people in Comic-Con are like, oh, it's just fucking people in Constantine.
Yeah.
What if we did that with 4? What if we did that with the most, because then you can get absurd, over the top, crazy, and use the people that we know. And I think put the who's who of the horror world in there. And I don't have a story yet, but I think that idea, that inciting incident into it could be something really fun.
I love that idea. And as every writer would ever say, let me think about it a little bit so I can come back
You
with
fucking
ideas.
is that idea. He's like, yeah, let me think about it.
No, I fucking love that idea. I really do. I really do like that idea. And what I love about it is we could include a lot of our friends and make it a community event and feel like they're able to a lot of those people are in masks. You know, you look at someone like Kane Hodder who's like wearing the Hatchet mask and wearing Jason's mask. It's not him, you know, and can be nice.
I think
to feel to make him feel real. I love that.
I absolutely agree. And I think that even if you take that page out of Three Amigos, what if all of these people have been brought together, they've been hired for this convention, but it was young kids that can't yet necessarily tell the difference between what they play on screen versus who they really are. So, you know, so imagine usually a booking agents to go through this. So as long as a guarantee is met, hey, we're going to offer your client X amount of dollars to come sign for 24 hours.
Right.
So what if it's kids that did this?
Yeah,
Either the kids don't realize they're not these characters. And now all of a sudden they're there and this horrible, evil thing comes, and now the only chance of winning is Bill Moseley, Kane Hodder, Derek Mears, all of these people as themselves.
Yeah,
I don't know what the story is, but I want to throw that idea out there. So for me, I would still put it as privilege number 1, this idea number 2, trench number 3, and I'm sorry, Josh, I want to throw away your zombie one in the submarine. I don't connect with it.
Fine. Fuck you.
I know. So that's what I'm saying, but I think that what I would like to do is, over the next 5 or 6 days, you and I should continue to workshop these ideas, because I think that it's important in the next week. We know the story that we want to tell, so we can start figuring out how we're going to tell this story. How are we going to pitch the story?
Yeah.
So one last thing before we go, and this is very important to me. We are a new podcast. We are trying to compete with the TikTok trend and the YouTube generation. We need your help. And how we need your help is by liking and subscribing to this channel right now. So if you're listening to this podcast or you're watching it, please make sure to drop a comment in the comment section. like us, tell your friends about us, because that's how we're going to end up in your feeds, in your friends' feed, and how we're going to be able to continue this thing and reach a wider audience and make a better, bigger movie.
Yeah, and also last week we had Lauren sign a bunch of things, and we're going to be giving those away. I'm waiting another week to do the first giveaway because Apple Podcasts sometimes takes a little while to throw up the review. You write the review and it doesn't go up for 5 days, so I'm just making sure everybody gets a chance to join it. But it's a really, I mean, there aren't many people up there, so you've got a really good chance of winning the Lauren signed stuff. So yeah.
Everyone, thank you very much. We have some great guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. One of them is a horror icon himself, and I'm kind of I'm nervous. You know who it is.
I know who it is too. It's going to be fun. I can't wait.
I'm terrified.
I can't wait. And we have, she's coming on also, which I'm not going to say.
I know. We have two very big people in the upcoming weeks. So everyone keep watching, keep listening, and keep interacting with us in the comments, sending us mail. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Please give the show a follow, and if you could leave a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, each post helps us reach more listeners like you. Another way to support us is to join the crew at djmakeamovie.com. We'd love to hear from you. Follow and join the conversation at DJ Make a Movie on all social platforms. Let's make a movie together.
Darren and Josh Make a Movie, Season 1. Hosted by Darren Bousman and Josh Stolberg. Produced by Addison Marshall. Email the team at djmakeamovie@gmail.com. To watch on video and enjoy all the visuals you may have missed listening to the audio version of the show, subscribe to the Darren and Josh Make a Movie YouTube channel. Thank you for joining.
Oh, yes, there will be blood.
No, it's not creepy at all.
I run a house with 50 crazy bitches.
Taught them to survive.
This is real life!
You're hallucinating.
It is real.
This is okay.
That girl really needs to learn to keep her mouth shut.
The man with the cello.
That is disgusting.
Is that a fucking piranha?
They took my penis! They took my penis! Oh, I wish I hadn't seen that.
You haven't seen anything yet.
You wanna play games, motherfucker?
Citrate comes in a little glass vial.
Hallelujah!
Darren and Josh Make a Movie.